How
How
are
are
you?
you guys?
I'm great. That was a struggle.
When I say a struggle, I've been Zooming every day of the week, and I'm
Are
like,
you
what the heck
serious?
is going on? At like 5 times a day almost.
Yeah, because
And
Zoom is the way of life now.
it is the way of life. So if you don't understand it, then God be with you.
I
You
like
look
it.
cute. I like your hair.
Oh, thank you. She just put this one on. She just laid this one down and trying to work on my baby hair flex.
You are
um,
crazy.
how is your life? What is up in the days of quarantine?
I mean, honestly, I'm really trying to keep it moving. I think like the first like maybe 3 weeks, I was like down. I was trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Just trying to take it all in. Honestly, like what the world is going to be like, what's next. And honestly, I've been chilling, like making sure that I'm spending like great time with the baby.
Yeah.
I had already said this before the quarantine even happened that I wanted to slow down from like traveling so much with styling and like literally just focus on Shop J Bolin and focus on the baby. So Shop J Bolin will be my way of generating income, and then I could build that brand even more, and then be able to go home to denim soccer games and also be at home with the baby, especially in the beginning of the baby's life. So I've been a great help at home. I've been such a fabulous father and such a great
You can't, you're not
husband.
able, you're not, just so you know, you're not actually able to say that. Your wife can say it, but you saying it loses a little bit of power. Just, just so you know.
Well,
But
that's
humble is
my
not your
L.
thing because your shirt says 6'2", handsome, artistic. What is happening during quarantine where most people are laying low? You have turned up.
Affirmations. It's affirmations. Like, listen, you have to build yourself up. I'm like, nobody else is running around here saying, man, you 6'2", articulate, handsome. My wife be like, pass me the baby bottle.
So you got
Oh,
on
you
a
look cute today.
billboard just so she can be reminded of who you are from day to day.
Actually, actually, as I was walking out the house, she saw me with this shirt on. She was like, oh, you look cute. And I was thinking, oh, so it took you to read this in order for it to remind you that you got a nice looking husband.
Sometimes it
I'm
be
just
like
trying
that.
to
Are you
figure it
getting
out.
up with the baby at night? Be honest.
Sarah, I have not slept the past 3 nights. The baby has colic now. So
Oh,
switching over the bottles, switching over the formulas and the milk. And my wife always wakes up in the middle of the night like, I just need 30. I just need an hour. You know what I mean? And I'm literally like just hopping up. And the crazy thing is that every time the baby makes a noise, I consciously jump up and I don't know what it is. I'm not fearful of anything happening to the baby. It's just that I just want to always make sure that everything is great and just know that daddy's here. Like it's the craziest thing. I'm like, I haven't been a baby quote unquote daddy in
mm-hmm.
12 years. So it's pretty fresh and new for me to be like hopping about the bed in the middle of the night, waking up. So I know every episode of every movie, every show. I am a rocking chair without a rocking chair. Like I'm sitting in my bed, I'm rocking the baby. I find myself like just being anywhere and just rocking in the house and don't even have the baby on me because I'm so used to it now.
That's
So
hilarious. But you're used to not getting sleep. You're the hardest working man in fashion. Bottom line. Bottom line.
I don't think so, Sarah. I don't think so. Like I
Jason,
see
you Jason, how do you not think that?
I see so many people pushing out amazing things in the fashion market, and I'm always like, I never like compare myself anymore. I have been to that. I was at that stage where you compare yourself and all that, and now I just try to move at my own pace. But I see people that have developed. I guess I'm equating hard working with a bigger success that looks like a
Mm-hmm.
bigger success. Maybe that's what I'm doing. But I appreciate you, saying that. Maybe I need to get a sweater that says hardest working man in the industry.
Maybe you think
Six
that
six
success is
two hardest working man in the
yeah,
industry.
we'll just add it to the shirt. Maybe you think that success is about visibility too, though.
That's very true. That's very okay. Great point. That's a
Yeah.
great point. Like I definitely will say that I probably have equated that with visibility on like what on people that are seen because you see like your colleagues in the market and they're on television or they're on like on these like Good Morning America shows and all that kind of stuff and you're like okay got to keep working hard one day it'll happen for you and so you're working hard to get to those times You know what I mean? I know that it'll happen in due time. I'm not rushing it at all. But like you said, I do work hard. But you said you're one of the hardest working ones. That's
But
a big pill to swallow sometimes. But
but I think you also have to, and I challenge myself with this, is that like people, I think a lot of the people who we look at, or maybe who you're looking at, pulled themselves in one direction and really dedicated all of themselves to that one direction. And so every piece of momentum that they had was channeled towards one thing. But because you are multidimensional, that means that you have styling, you have Shop J Bolin, you have speaking, you have the events that you do as well, and those little undercover businesses that you're doing that no one knows that you're actually behind. So many things that they see on social media. So like you, my dad always says like he's Campbell soup. He's like Campbell soup is different. Like the person who makes the soup is not the soup, but I am the soup and the can. And I think that you are the soup and the can. So you don't even have time to do the stuff that would allow you that level of visibility because you have so many different businesses and things that you're running.
all right, I accept that. I mean, I never broke it down that way. Okay, quarantine hasn't made me break it down that much.
Yeah.
It took me to get on Woman Evolve podcast with you for you to break it down for me like that. But I accept that. I do accept that because sometimes I think, I mean, that's a big part of it. You start looking at what's around you and you start equating that with, am I working hard enough? Am I not working hard enough? Should I be giving more? Should I not be sleeping or feeling guilty when you do sleep or feeling guilty when you are spending too much time with the family? Like now I'm at the point where I feel like there are some guilty moments now where I'm like, am I spending too much time with the family? This is going to be hard. Like now, like when my son goes upstairs, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, come down and hang out with daddy. You know, and when he comes down, he's kind of like that. Like, I have schoolwork to do. Like, this is a school day. Like, I have schoolwork to do, and you should have work to do. So I'm trying to find, a balance of all of that.
But you know, sometimes I wonder when you go as much as you go, because you go harder than I do. And when you go as much as you do, I think that what I challenge myself with is recognizing that like hustle is kind of like what I am innately created to do. Like I will find something to do
Yeah.
when I'm at home. Like my team calls me or texts me and they're like, "What are you doing? I know you're up to something," because they know even when I'm home that I am doing something. To your point, it might just be rocking up with the baby, but you were not created to just sit down and be still. And so I think in those moments of stillness, it feels unnatural because it's not how you're wired, but you also need balance. And I've been thinking for a long time how much balance you need. I didn't mean to get on this podcast and read you, but now that we're here, let me put my glasses on. you you are constantly on the road. Anyone who follows you on Instagram knows that you are plane to plane, flight to flight, photo shoot to photo shoot, secret thing to secret thing. Who am I styling next? What am I doing now? And so I think as uncomfortable as it is, that you do need to have a minute to really recenter, recreate, regenerate so that you're more intentional about what you do out of this season.
And to be honest, I literally just had a meeting with my team, CPA, everybody. I sat everybody down and said, okay, I want to talk about where I want to be, not in the next 5 years, but in the next few months.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know where I want to be in the next few months. And that was on my list. And it's kind of like God heard my prayers and forced it on the entire nation.
Yeah, the
Like,
entire nation.
get somewhere and sit still and get focused. And there's a way to be focused. There's a way to grind. And there's a way to be family oriented and to get to know myself better. I have learned so much about myself in the past few weeks. It's been insane.
What's been the greatest lessons you've learned about yourself?
Is that I'm not good with relationships.
Shut up. Say more.
I am not good with relationships, Sarah. Like I have always battled with like not texting people back, not becoming like I am cool with you until you say like let's hang out. I am cool with you until you say let's do something, or like when it starts to get too close and too like lovey dovey, or like I'm really your friend. I have backed off in the past from that so much. So even with like clients, and friends and industry colleagues. Like I don't go out eating with people.
You sure
I don't go and
don't.
hang.
You sure don't. You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it then. Jason, you I'm glad. I'm just glad.
But you know what? So I will say this: it shouldn't be this way, but it has been this way in the past. It's been this way in the past because there were moments that I was hurt by putting myself in situations. I put myself in situations with friends, with colleagues, and also with clients that were positions that I didn't know how to balance uh, friendship. I didn't know how to balance the work relationship. I didn't know how to balance it. So like when I'm in, I'm all in mostly. And so in reality, I was all in because I was really living my life possibly through those people
Mm,
and living like in their world and not really bringing anything to the table. Like now I have something to bring to the table and it's not even anything about my credentials or career, but I have more substance. I have
yeah.
more about me that I'm able to bring to the table confidently now that I can, face these things, right? But in the past, I've been afraid of it because it's been hurtful. Because when you put your heart on the line and it gets hurt, it's hard to kind of come back on the back end and say, guess what? This wound is healed and I'm back, guys. I'm back
Yeah.
to be hurt once again. And so
That's a
I
flaw
realized
that
that,
you can't say back to be hurt.
said it again.
Don't say back to be hurt. Say I'm open.
Well,
Oh, that's
I'm open now, but
mhm.
I had to learn that during this quarantine because I mean honestly that's the way I felt before the quarantine, and I realized I was like, you're not good with relationships. I was like, God, I really need to do better with like there are people who I love, and I should be okay with loving them unconditionally.
Mm,
There are people that I care about. And I think that there is wisdom to it all. You know what I mean?
right.
On like hanging out. I know I'm not meant to hang out with all my colleagues. I know I'm not meant to go to the bar and have drinks all the time. Like I know that I'm not that guy. So I've accepted that I'm called to be different in certain areas. But there are certain moments that even with people that I know that love me to death, that I still sometimes keep a wall up because I'm like, I don't want anything to happen. I want to protect. I want to protect what seems to be a relationship by not having a real relationship.
That's good. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. I mean, I'm thinking though, because even when you had the baby, I can remember like pressing in and you kind of not say anything. I was like, I won't say, I'm not going to ask about the baby anymore.
No, it was okay. So here's the thing. I think you have broken that wall down because like you'll check me. You'll read me if I don't text back. Like what's up? What are you doing? I texted you already. Oh, you in LA? Oh, oh, you in LA? So there are people that I have that can say things to me, and it doesn't come off the. I don't take it the wrong way at all because I know we have back history. So it's like whatever hurt, whatever we've been through in the past, like those wounds were healed, and they were healed organically.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something that our careers did. It wasn't something that a therapist did. They happened extremely organic. So I feel safe. I feel safe and I can trust. But then there are other relationships where I'm just like, I keep the wall up. So now, moving forward into our future, I said I was going to do better. I'm going to text back. I'm going to communicate better. And I'm going to be open. I'm going to be open.
That's, but I think when you have the background that you have and you've had to literally fight for everything you see, you had to fight, grow, stretch, and become for. I don't think it's uncommon to want to protect that by any means necessary. There are so many things that I imagine you learned the hard way just because
Yeah.
you didn't have a mentor, you didn't have anyone ahead of you. And I think still being open to learning more is why you'll always see God bless you, is that you maintain the posture of a student. I want to talk a little bit about when you first started off, though. I don't know. I mean, you share your story on social media, but I don't know that we fully understand how far this is from where you were supposed to be. Where, if
Yeah.
you had not, if you would not have followed your gut and done what was inside of you, in spite of the fact that there was no one around you, where would you be right now?
A college president.
Really?
A college president. Like before all of this, I was seeking other opportunities and becoming a college president. So I wanted to go and get my master's and then go and get my doctorate. And I have no idea why I want to be a college president.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I went to HBCU, and I was the freshman class president, sophomore class president, junior class president, and senior class president. So there was always an interest level of making sure that the school was good, making sure that students were good, making sure that things were always like on the up and up and thriving and parties was popping, So I've always had like that in my head. And I probably wouldn't be as confident as a person as I am now. Like that would still be me hiding. I would probably still be hiding behind the insecure little boy from Roxy, Mississippi, who really just didn't know what to accept. I was just telling somebody the other day, I only had two choices. It was either go outside and pick the greens and shuck this corn before I get home and make sure that my meat is out the freezer before I get home, or either you're going to cut grass.
Mm-hmm.
It's like either two. And if you're talented, you may get a chance to play sports because that's really the only talent that a boy's supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally held on to that my entire life. And of course, I'm not picking greens anymore. I'm not shucking corn, shucking corn right now. I didn't have to do that in college, but I hid behind those insecurities for quite some time. And just, I became class president because I wanted to be known for something. I became affiliated with the SGA in school because I wanted somebody to see me as something else. See, I hid behind that. I wasn't a good president. I wasn't a good class president at all. But it worked for me so that when I went back to my room, I had something to say, wow, I'm a class president and they like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What was the point though? So there had to have been this defining moment where you said that you would still be in hiding had you not taken that step of faith and really decided to I spoke to Arian Simone and she talks about betting on yourself. Was there like this definitive moment where you said, I'm not going to hide?
I think that the industry that I'm in is a battlefield itself. So I feel like once you get into this industry, it is put your boxing gloves on because you're going to be boxing and fighting, and it's an entire war. So I feel like every corner that I went in, I had to be like, I feel like pieces of me were being stripped away every single step of the way. So I don't believe that it was a one moment that things changed. I believe that as I've grown over the years, I believe that it's like an onion, like layers and layers and layers. And as an onion, we all know onions make you cry. So there were tears and tears. Every layer that was peeled, there was a tear that came with it. And now I'm still peeling back the layers. I just admitted to relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would think like people think because I'm a nice guy that I probably have a million relationships and Jay is cool with everybody and blah blah blah. And it's like Jay's at home trying to figure out like, do I have friends? Do I? You know what I mean? Like,
here's a thought.
Who are the people like? If something like in this moment now, we always say if something happens, who could we call on? But we're in a moment now where it's like we have to figure out who are the people that we can call on Earth.
Yeah.
Who are the people that we can call on? And so, So just to answer your question, it took years of betting on myself. It took years of now I can bet on myself for sure, but I've had to peel back a lot of layers in order to do that.
You had to practice
and I didn't. It happened involuntarily. So those layers were peeled back because of situations.
What you said about like that, do I have any friends to call? I think is really worth digging into because so many people, I get so many DMs, so many letters from people who are like, I'm there for everyone else. No one checks on me. No one asks me, do I need anything? I'm always the one everyone calls for prayer. But when I need prayer, I don't have anyone to call. And I wonder how much of that is like you don't have anyone to call or you haven't opened up so that you do have someone to call. Because I have found that the people who come to us generally are willing to serve us in the same manner, but we don't let our walls down to let them know that we are in need, and then we penalize the people around us for not serving a need that we didn't communicate.
Okay, listen. Well, you just read for me for my
No.
whole life. Uh, because that is so true. Like I know that there are people around me that, like I said, they care.
Yeah.
There are people around me that care, but then when I say people that have me, people that got me, people that uh that can help me. When I say help me, what if I need financial help? What if I need,
You have too much pride to ask for it because you know if you needed anything, I would help you. And I feel the same
but
way for you, but I would never ask, and neither would you. No, I ain't going to ask them. Nope, nope. No, I'll be over
no,
here eating ramen.
so great point to this is that uh I remember going to pick up something for you years ago, and you hounded me about gas money. I told you that I took care of it. It's fine. You were like, no, you're going to get this gas money, and it wasn't like you're going to get this gas money because I want you to have this gas money. It was you're going to get this gas money because you're never going to be able to hold gas money over my
What?
head. So and because there's a difference. There's a difference in I want you to have this gas money because I care about your gas tank and I care about your finances. And then there's another level of it at you didn't think you was gonna be read on your
I did
podcast.
not think I was going to get read on my own podcast. Moving on to the next question.
But there was a difference, and there's a difference when we're doing that now. Like there are moments where like I have to tell my wife like make sure that whatever you're giving somebody or you're doing something for someone, if you owe somebody $1, she's like give them their dollar. I don't want them to say that we owe them $1 and blah blah blah. I'm like that comes from a very defensive place. That comes from a very defensive place, and in reality, that person is like I really wanted to give you that dollar. Like there's no ill intent, there's no motive behind that dollar. But in our head, we're like, get your dollar. You can keep your dollar.
Well, you know why? Because we've had people hold $1 over our head before. When they get ready to leave, they be like, I did this for you, I did that for you. And you're like, no, you ain't gonna never be able to say you did nothing for me, child. Take this, take that, and everything you came in here with. And that's a problem that we can grow and evolve from. Thank you for showing me how I was lost. I have now been found. Moving on.
You are hilarious.
No, I think to your point though, understanding your patterns, but I think it's more than your patterns. It's like understanding the patterns your insecurities created versus the highest version of yourself. And I've had so many patterns that I know, like my insecurities, my pain, my trauma created this way of communicating, this way of loving, this way of showing up in a relationship. And I do think that we're all on a journey of taking that version of ourselves that we created to survive in the world and bringing them into the truth of the fact that you survived means that you can live. And I do think when we end up living in survival mode, that we end up really missing out on the joy of being present, because we're always looking for how we're going to lose or how we could possibly lose, and we never see that we've won. And I
said I was going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Great point. I said I'm going to start looking for the green flags in people versus the red flags. I'm always looking for the red flags. Like, what's wrong with them? Who sent you? It's always the who sent you factor. Like, who sent you? Why are you here? You know what I mean? What do you want? When somebody sends me a direct message, I'm already like,
stressed.
I'm not going to open this message up. I don't want them to see the open this message up. And the message sometimes just says the nicest thing. Like, it could just be somebody saying, you know what? I said a prayer for you today. I want to make sure that your business is thriving and that you're doing great and that you and your family are doing great. And I'm looking at it like, but and I don't know why we're like that. Like, why won't we accept the love? But here's what we will do: let somebody send us a message and they're reading us in our DM.
Yeah, you're gonna get this fire back.
I'm gonna accept so that you can see that I've seen it.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna send you a message back. I have no idea why we run to the moment of having to prove ourselves versus receiving the love where people don't care about you having to prove yourself at all.
Do you think it's because we have an insecurity that the that good stuff that they're saying may or may not be true, or because we feel inadequate to what they're saying, those voices that we end up responding to are echoes of something that exists down on the inside of us. And so we
Yeah.
tell them what we don't have the courage to say to our own insecurities. And then the highlight makes us feel like, oh, I wonder if I can keep this up. I wonder if I can continue to do this. So we don't want to receive that, because receiving that may mean that I have to embrace the fact that I actually am born to do this, that I actually do it well, and that there is, a purpose and destiny connected to my life. I think that might be, at least for me, I think that's part of the reason. And so I have this encouragement folder now. When someone like sends me something that like super resonates with me, I screenshot it and put it in my albums, because I think I went into this with so many questions.
It's 5:00. Mm-hmm.
I went into this with so many questions about whether or not I was good enough, whether or not I had what it takes. And then my you've been here. So you know that I went from I'm not really a speaker, I just do panels, to okay, I'll speak a little bit, but I need there to be a keynote somewhere, to now, I've really tapped into what I believe God has called me to do, and I'm able to deliver what I believe God is saying to me in a way that is more impactful than I think, or at least impactful in a different way. But I think I questioned all along the way, did I say it the right way? Was it eloquent? Did I mess the scripture up? Did I mess the pronunciations up? So when someone says something to me and they're like, oh, you messed that up, I'm like, well, you should get out there and try to, you know what I mean? I'm defensive because they echoed something that existed in me. And then when they say you did well, you kind of shrug it off because you're still questioning who you are within.
That's absolutely it. So that echo I'm talking about, I have a Teddy Riley echo.
Jason, I am logging off for the second time.
It's the truth. I am definitely working on accepting the love, and that's great to have that encouragement folder. That's encouraging me to, when I get those nice messages, to put them aside, because we do need those days and those moments that we want to go back and read something nice. And when we're trying to figure out, even sometimes people send affirmations. So sometimes we're like, oh, I just want to hear from God. I just want to know what God is saying. And sometimes God just send a hug from that person.
Yeah.
Send something nice through that person. We're looking for all of the biblical promises that he said. And sometimes he's just sending, Holy Spirit ones that it just whispers in your ear and whispers through your DMs. And we have to understand that technology is being used the same way that things were being used back in the biblical days. It's just a different form now.
I think it's also important to recognize that as much as we are, still trying to find our way and being confident in what we do, that part of the reason why I think we never get to this place of full confidence and why we're always reaching ahead is because we keep trying new things. And trying new things make you vulnerable, and trying new things reveal where your issues and your struggles and your weaknesses are. And so there's this juxtaposition between, I could stay doing what I know I do well and continue to live off of the high of knowing I executed on this level, or I could take this idea and try to do it, even if it means shaking up my stability. See, this is the problem, is that we keep signing up to have our identity shaken up. And you don't go from glory to glory unless you're willing to let go of who you once were to manifest who you are now. You keep trying new things. Like Jason Bolin tries new stuff all of the time. He tries new things in fashion. He tries new things with the store. He tries new things with mentoring. You are all about trying new things and trying new. And I think this is good for someone who's listening, is because you think that when we try new things, we do it with confidence because it executes well. But the truth is that we try new things shaking in our boots.
And sometimes we're shaking in our boots, and then we're still embarrassed on the back end. I've embarrassed myself. Okay. I literally, I'm all things home interior style. I love any piece of life I feel like needs to be styled, right? So here I am. I'm like, okay, I want to try something new. I'm telling my team I want to try. Actually, I have two examples. One example is that I started a home interior collection, and I started a whole line. I started a J. Bolin home collection, blah, blah, blah. I was so excited, so thrilled, and I put out all the marketing for it. I rented out a beautiful home, and I had commercials done and everything for the candles. And I sold 3. I sold 3. I sold 3 of them. 3 candles.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
I promoted it. I wanted people to know what I was doing. I felt like everybody kept commenting saying, "I got you. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled." So I was like, "Okay, we in that thing." Like they know
They about
know
to
that
eat
they
this
Bolin
up. They
style.
about to eat this
Yeah,
up.
right. And I sold 3 candles, and so it really it punched me right in the stomach so hard that I started to doubt the home side for me. I started to doubt it, so I backed away from it, and I put it out. Everything that I purchased, all the pillows, all the good stuff, I literally put it aside because I was like, maybe it's not time, or maybe people aren't ready for what I have, or just maybe that's not meant for me to actually do. Still didn't discover what that is. I'm gonna like now in this very moment. I'm like, pick up the pieces. Wherever you feel like you failed at, it's just a learning zone for you. So you have to hop back on that ground and learn because what you thought, Jay Bolin, is that your credentials in fashion was
Right,
going
with
to
transfer.
was going to put you in a position because of your little following on social media. You felt like you were entitled to people buying this from you and for people to take this other journey with you. And people was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I got my own candles,
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm at the place now I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick up the pieces and I'm going to learn all over again. Next one is Fashion Week. I've been extremely vulnerable with you right now. I've never told this story to anybody.
Uh-oh.
Fashion Week, I promoted Fashion Week and I had it laid completely out. Do you hear me? I had the top stores in the city as a part of it, from Gucci to Prada to Fendi. All these stores are going to be a part of it. 4510. All of them were so gracious and said, Jay, even IKEA, all these places were willing to sponsor and be a big part of this. And things shifted. The night that I put it, everybody told me that they wanted to come. Everybody kept saying, I'm coming. It's fashion show. This Fashion Week. We've been wanting to have one. And guess what, guys? Only one person bought a ticket. Only one person bought a ticket. So for those people that see the hard work you put into something and they still don't know on the back end, sometimes everything of what you see, everything that glitters is not gold. It's hard work. So what I have to do now is, what I learned from now, I say, okay, God, teach me. Because whatever it is that I'm not getting from this, I want you to teach me, because you gave me the vision.
Yeah.
This vision didn't just come from me. You gave the vision. So teach me what I'm supposed to learn in this. And God said, you need to plan and you need to lay things out accordingly. You need to be more strategic and be more intentional about what you do. When I give you a vision, it doesn't mean that it has to happen tomorrow.
Oh, goodness. That's a word within itself.
And so it checked me, because sometimes it feels like when we get a vision, it's hashtag on demand. Like, you better get it done. You better get it done now, because, like the old schoolers would tell us, well, if you don't use that gift or that God gave you, He'll take it away.
Yeah.
And that little thing sticks right in my head every time I get a vision. It's like, you better move on it. You better move on it. You better move on it. Before somebody else hop on it and do it. And in reality, it's kind of like God's like, I want you to do it when I say do it. When I give you the vision, I just want you to start planning. Just start planning. And you watch the doors open up continually. And so that's where I am now. I had to learn from those 2 big situations. Those are 2 big milestones in my life and my career, from Fashion Week to my home interior style. I still have the website up. So you guys can always go and look at the website that I so fabulously did, from J Bolin Fashion Week to my home, J Bolin Home Collection. And they're just sitting there dormant. Like, nothing's happening over there at all. But there's a part of my business that is thriving. The Shop J Bolin is where I'm putting majority of my time. And where you put majority of your time is really where things will you'll start to see some things come to fruition. You'll start seeing some fruit. And so I put a lot of time into Shop J Bolin as of lately, and I see it growing. I see it building. I see it moving up to its next dimension, and I'm excited about that. And those other things, I got to get back to planning. Everything takes planning. It's just prioritizing every piece of the way. Because how do you feel, Sarah? Because if you're talented at a lot, I know people are talented at a million things, and God may give you a vision one day to be a chef. The next day, you have a little bit of a vision to start a podcast. The next day, it may be writing a book, and you just like, okay, bam, let me find my book publishers. Let me find the baking companies I want to use. Let me find, you know what I mean? All these things, it's kind of like all of them are running through your head. But how do you balance and even know which one to do first or which one you're supposed to be doing now?
Well,
or do you break them down and do them in small little pieces and just kind of prioritize your time and give them all some time?
I try to start with what I know I can do consistently. Like my big thing is like, what can I do consistently? And I don't really give up on things unless I did them consistently. And if I give up, I don't necessarily attribute it to my failure unless I did it consistently. So my thing is, if God gives me something and I work at it consistently and it doesn't work out, then that wasn't meant for it to pop off the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah.
But I feel like if God gives me an idea and I don't really throw all of myself at it and it fails, then that doesn't necessarily mean that God wasn't on it. It just means that I didn't do it consistently. I think even with the Woman Evolve store, you know, which was a side thing for me, which means that I really wasn't prepared to give it a level of consistency that it would require for it to be a standalone business and entity.
Yeah.
So what I had to really learn is like, this is not a side hustle. Like a store is someone's full-time job. Like sometimes we want a side hustle that is literally people's full-time job. So like your side hustle is going to require some level of full-time attention, full-time creativity. If you can't do it, you may need to hire it. But you can't keep asking God, why doesn't this have an overflow blessing when it's only got part-time attention? And so I
okay, all righty then. We can log off right now then.
I mean part-time, and I do mean part-time. I mean not even 30 hours. I mean when I can, I will. And so I think what I've learned to do is to know that anything I don't really give support won't stand up. And I think that when God gives me an idea, I think about, this is what I learned pretty early on. This is what Woman Evolve taught me, is that I have to plan for it to be successful. I think a lot of times we plan for it to just get off the ground, and that's all it does is get off the ground. But if this is going to be successful, what are the ingredients for success, not startup? Because there's a different structure that you create when it's like, I want this to be sustainable as opposed to I just want this to have a dope debut. And so that has really helped me, because when I first did the store, I was just doing stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna just see if I can have a store. And I bought the clothes and I posted the pictures, and that was it. I didn't organize the inventory. I didn't know how we were going to fulfill orders. I just wasn't planning on it being like a big thing. And then we got like 30 orders, and I was like, oh my gosh, how do I know where the larges are? How do I know where the smalls are? What am I using, ShipStation, or how do I mail these things out? Like I didn't plan for it to be successful. And I'm thinking about when Oprah received like a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, and she was so poised and so like not surprised that she was there, that I was like, that's the goal, is to put in so much work, so much effort, so much consistency, that when you are acknowledged for your work, it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys acknowledge this, but you're like, I put in the work, so I'm not surprised that this is something that led me to where I am right now. I think if we could stop being surprised by the blessings God has promised us when we are obedient to his word, then we could plan a lot better.
Do you feel like it's possible to be giving your all to a gift? And or how do you feel about if you have a gift and you don't actually enjoy it, or you have like you said, like make sure you're giving that particular thing your all and a lot of your time, some full-time action? Do you feel like it's possible to have a gift and you not enjoy that gift?
For sure, but I don't think it's possible for you to have a calling and not have fulfillment in that calling. So I think a lot of times, like, your gift and your calling are two different things. Like, I can cook. Like, that's a gift, right? That I can cook. But that's not necessarily something that wakes me up in the morning and makes me excited, where I want to suffer. I preached about this a couple weeks ago. I talked about our purpose being connected to our passion, and our passion is what we're willing to suffer for. If you're not willing to suffer for your gift, then that's not going to be a part of your purpose. Your purpose is going to be what you're willing to suffer for, what you're willing to get on the cross for. power. And so, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who are like, I'm gifted at singing, but what I'm passionate about is preaching. You know what I mean? And sometimes
Yeah.
we abuse people's gift and force them into their gift, and they end up missing out on their purpose and their calling because we told them, you're gifted here, you should do that.
And I'm guilty of that. Like I have like people on my team, and you can have the right people, but in the wrong position.
Right.
And so, like, I literally will tell them, "Oh my God, you're so good with words. Oh my God, you're so good with styling." And it's like, in reality, this person may not be meant to style at all. They may be good at it, but that may not be their calling. It may not be their lane, because I find that, like, I have someone now that's on the team, and she does things extremely well in her zone. Like, so I'm like, okay, you do this so well. Like, you could call your company this, and you can make it this, and you can do this. We're talking about all these ideas. And then, like, recently she just sent me a message like, hey, I'm no longer accepting jobs, so you can stop sending referrals over to me for that, because I'm not accepting any more jobs. I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? Like, why don't you want that? She's like, I'm not happy there. And I was trying to figure out, well, how are you gifted in one area and not happy to be doing it? But you just said it. If you're not willing to suffer,
if you're not willing to suffer
for it, I can't force somebody into something, and I shouldn't force anybody into anything. But, you know, you're in a creative zone. We can kind of see things, and you're seeing all these gifts and talents everywhere. So you start pointing different ideas and things out. And in reality, people have to see it for themselves.
I do think it's important too, though, that we make sure people know that suffering is a part of the process. Because if you think that you have to enjoy it every step of the way in order for it to be rewarding, you're going to be really disappointed the moment you encounter suffering. That's why it's like, what are you willing to suffer for? Because you are going to have to suffer. Is this going to be worth the suffering? I feel sorry for people who trail behind you. They be coming in the house and they be looking tired. Like, we just got off the plane at 5 o'clock in the morning. He had us sitting outside this store waiting on it to open. He got the carpool Uber instead of the regular black one for us. I mean, they be looking exhausted, and you have to be passionate about that thing. I asked him, could we go to dinner? He ordered McDonald's. And I wanted to have steak dinner. I ain't ate in 6 months. He told me I have a smoothie. Like, you have to be willing to suffer. They think the styling is all about the pictures and being around people who have influence. Working for Jason Bolin it's tough. Now it's tough.
And I realize now that it's tough. I realize now that it is
yes,
tough.
I be trying to offer them cake and cookies for a reason. Like, y'all want some water? Y'all hungry? Because I know.
And they're looking at me like I'm the parent that said, when you go in here, don't ask for nothing, don't touch nothing, don't say nothing. Like, they act like I'm that person. And in reality, I'm not that person. But I sometimes, as a leader, you want people to go in certain areas and do things the right way, in certain ways that you learn. And the reality is that everything is going to be different for every single person. So I can share pieces of wisdom, but I can't force them not to. Like, I used to tell people to be quiet, like on set. Like, when you get on set, like, it's important to, like, be quiet and don't talk as much and don't say as much. And so, like, say for instance, my assistant, Garcina, is an amazing speaker. She hears from God all the time. And she's always like, I don't know when to say something. I don't know when to not say something. I don't know when it's right. You know what I mean? I don't want to overstep my boundaries. And I'm at the point now where it's about partnership. And I understand that God puts people around me. Like, this is ministry for me. As much as I try to deny it, as much as I try to run from it, this is my groove. This is my lane of ministry right now. And who knows, you know, where things will go in the future. But literally, when she's around me, other people are around me, I shouldn't hold back the voice of God by just telling her, be quiet, don't say nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now I'm learning to open up, Sarah, and let people be themselves and to talk and show more personality in a respectful way. Because when you're at work, you know, it is not about the person.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I think that's where that's come from in the past. Where you have people that's working with you, around you, or under you, then everybody wants to be the shining star. And in reality, the only shining star should be the client. And so that's really what I really want people to know, is that what we do is help build people. We love to see people shine, and we want that person to feel like that in that moment, because it's selfish for you to feel like this every other day of your life, and then you also want to feel like this around the client as well. Like, so at least give that 45 minutes and you digress and let that person shine for that moment. So that's what I'm teaching in this moment now. I'm learning a lot. Welcome
Yeah.
to Woman Evolve.
I think to your point though, having a team is not that different from parenting because every child or every team member needs something different. And one team member who may have ruined it when being in a client's home may now have rules that other team members didn't necessarily need. And that's why having a team is really about being patient because every team member is going to need support and guidance in a different way. And so it's not like you get to have this universal set of rules that's supposed to make it work for everyone, but rather being sensitive enough to see like where is this person's strength, where are the areas where they have opportunities for growth, and how can we really help to build an environment that supports those places.
Now, the market has taught us to create a formula and have everybody to follow by it.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting to break down that wall of what you're taught in business. You know, when you're reading the business books, it's like a lot, even the business books are telling us to the number one rule is to make sure that none of your team members are friends. None of them become friends. Make sure you keep them as enemies of one another. Make sure you keep them as far, like, not necessarily enemies, but make sure that they're like in competition
Right.
at all times. And so it's interesting to hear it come from a spiritual perspective to say, you know what, be patient and really mold each person individually versus coming up with one strict formula and making everybody abide by it because of what happened in the past.
Yeah, I mean, Peter needed something. I'm thinking about Jesus training up the disciples. Peter needed something different than John. John needed something
Yeah.
different than Simon. So, like, and that's why, man, running a business is not for the faint of heart, especially when you're running a business that's ultimately kingdom, is because even if it doesn't work out, it's important to me that your soul is intact when you leave this position. And I don't want to do anything that leaves you more damaged than you were when you came in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, J-Bo, we're rolling with J-Bo. Can you sing us out? Can you sing us a song before you
Girl,
come
goodbye.
on? Jason, don't act like you can't. You talking about gifts. Don't act like you can't carry your tune.
I
Jason,
just told you there are gifts that some that we just don't enjoy.
what is your song in this season? What are you at least listening to?
Oh my God. Carrie Job, new
Okay.
song.
The Blessing. Which
The
one?
Blessing.
Yeah.
The Blessing takes me completely out of here. And it takes me out of here because now I'm building a family.
Yeah.
So I have a family and I'm thinking about what I'm building, you know, that goes beyond just somebody's closet. You're building more than someone's closet. Like you're helping your family, you're building things for your children's children. And so that song means a lot to me. I'm listening to One LA. Have you ever heard of One Church LA?
Never.
Okay, cool. So they have this song. It's already done.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
literally,
did
I
y'all
was
hear
there
that?
when I was there when it was actually recorded. The video was
Ah.
recorded, and I fell in love then. And sometimes it's really difficult when you hear a song for the first time, and
Mhm.
you really don't know how to really like get into it.
Yeah.
It's really different when everybody else around you's into it, and you like, well, how y'all know this song? Like, how does everybody else know the song? And everybody was like in the moment and loving it. And I said, like, it pierced through my soul.
Mm.
And so that's another great song. And I'm getting into this guy called Mike, Big Mike. Have you heard of him before?
Mm-mm. Well, I think you sent me that song, Pastor Mike or something.
Pastor Mike.
Yeah,
His
it's
music
got a
is,
little ratchet on it. You like that? It's got a little trap on it.
you know that I
Hey.
like that. You know that I like that. So, but he definitely has like some really groovy songs on there. And groovy may not be the most spiritual thing to say, guys, but it's definitely it's some dope stuff on his album. And so I think that I think listening to that from the top to the bottom, the guy is brilliant. He's a mastermind in music and articulating things that he's hearing from God. It's insane.
Well,
So those are my music choices right now. But what I do notice is that you haven't been updating our list lately because we have a iTunes
we do.
list
You're not lying.
that's shared. and you haven't updated it in a minute, because I used to get on and be like, wait a minute, where did this song come from?
I need to send
And
you. I need to send you a new link though. I got you.
also,
I
you
got
got
you.
a
Don't even
new
get in
link.
your
You got a
don't
new
even
link.
don't even get in your feelings about it. I got you. I'm about to send it to you. All right, all right.
I see what's happening here.
I love you,
No, but
J-Bo. Thank you for doing
I,
this with
I,
me.
no problem. I love it. I would not like. I am all zoomed and podcast mentality out,
I
but you
know.
always bring something refreshing to the table, and it's always so easy to talk to you. And you do that through YouTube. You do that through face to face. You do that through Zoom. You do that through, I mean, all avenues. That, I mean, you're so anointed and you're so good at being so relatable and caring. And even if you don't care about me, you doggone do a good job at making at, at making me and my family feel that way. And we love you for that, and I thank you for that, not only for myself, but for my team, for my family, my wife and my son. My son thinks that you are like literally like you're his fiance.
Oh goodness.
No, I'm
Damn.
so serious. Like you're Denim's fiance. Like anytime he sees you on television, anytime he sees like he'll see like Hollywood's on YouTube. He'll see like Hollywood's biggest homes. He always brings me like the house and say, "Hey, Dad, does Sarah's house is like this?" Hey, Dad, like so Sarah's outfit. I saw her outfit on YouTube. Did you do that? Man, I like he's getting to the point now where he's like understanding people that are really close to me and like what they mean to me. So like he can hear and see all these moments. And one more cool thing. So I had a moment last night, and I was watching the first the first cycle of America's Next Top Model. Do you know how insane that was to watch that? Because when I first started watching America's Top Model, I was homeless.
Oh goodness.
And now I text Tyra Banks in the middle of watching it last night and said, "Hey, guess what I'm watching?"
Yeah.
She was like, "What?" And I said, "I'm watching the first cycle of America's Next Top Model." And she was like, "Oh my God, like that's so like it's so embarrassing." So we laughed about it or whatever. And I said, "Can you believe that when this first episode came out, I was homeless?" And she was like, "Get out of here." And I said, "So the only way that I was able to watch you on television was when I went to my mother-in-law's house or my mom's house." And they never even knew we were homeless at that time. So we were hiding from our parents.
Yeah.
And so I was only able to watch it when I went over there. So to be able to text her now, and hopefully that helps somebody on that's listening, is that I was able to watch and remember a moment that I had zero. And now I'm able to talk to the mastermind that I looked up to, that I wanted to be like, or to have. There was something about that person that made me want to be a better person when I watched Tyra on TV at that time. And so now to be able to text and just have a conversation with her about it, and honestly, to hear her say, "So proud of you," like you did so great. You know what I mean? Like those moments really matter. So hopefully that's encouraging to somebody in your quarantine time. We're no longer calling it quarantine time. We're going to call it quality time.
Yes.
Quality times with ourselves, quality times with our families, quality times with our business, quality times with God. So we're just going to change our perspective. Quality time, guys.
Well, thank you for changing our perspective. This is going to help a lot of people.
Well, I'm grateful.
I love you.
I
If
love
you
you,
need
girl.
me, you know I got ramen on deck. Don't you ever be somewhere hungry. Okay? You have a
I
friend.
love you, girl.
I love you
All
too.
right, tell the family I said what's up.
I
Peace
will.
out.
Bye.
All right, bye.